What a weekend of strength it's been. The RAW Invitational Men, the RAW Invitational Women, and the Strongman Champions League final. We're here to talk about it all. Busy weekend, Auntie Liz. We've been up in Scotland for the RAW Invitational, which was two fantastic competitions, but as well as that we had the Strongman Champions League final. We will get to that later because there's some exciting news regarding that. However, we have to start with one of the biggest contests of the year on the men's side, and I think you have to say the biggest contest ever for the women. We're going to start off with the men.
Yes, okay.
I want to take a look at the men. The men's competition was exciting. There was you see the scores here. Mitch Hooper in the end, he looks like he dominated and he won by 10 points in the end. However, there was a lot of different winners of events and it was only his consistency that kept him, it makes him so hard to beat. He really is an incredible athlete, but there were so many impressive performances. I was super impressed with Thomas Evans.
Yes,
he was looking really good. Unfortunately, as the competition progressed, he picked up a bit of a bicep injury, started to kind of drop places then, but early on, he looked fantastic.
He was in a great position.
Thor Bjornsson, Tom Stoltman looking really, really good. Evan Singleton looking in really good shape. Luke Stoltman looking in fantastic shape. It was an amazing competition. Anyway, we started off with the max deadlift. And I think, as expected, Thor Bjornsson takes the win on this one.
Yeah, but what a moment, him trying to negotiate with Katie.
I was going to get
so funny.
So
the economy, times are hard.
There was kind of talk of maybe Thor was going to go for the RAW world record, which is currently Trey Mitchell's record at 470 kilos. And there was a little bit of talk about it and a little bit of back and forth. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Thor go for that record.
Smart move in the end, though. I think, he said, actually, I really do want to concentrate on the whole competition. Yeah, he got a bit excited in the moment.
He did indeed. Anyway, Thor Bjornsson took the win with 458 kilos on the deadlift. Mitch Hooper was second with 442 kilos. And Matt Ragg, looking stupidly big and strong, he pulled 431 kilos to take third place.
And it placed him mid-pack, but Thomas Evans with the 410 kilos, I know that was a big thing for him.
Big
he really
PB
surprised
for him.
himself.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. When you get to these competitions, you've got to try and bring your absolute best. You can't worry about Thor pulling, 1,000 pound plus and stuff like that. You've got to go there, execute to the best you can. And he was super happy with what he did. And even Tom Stoltman, Tom Stoltman just shy of 400 kilos on his pull, looked a lot more confident than we saw in Vegas a few months back. Hopefully with more time we can see him getting back to his best on deadlift and beyond. So event number 2 was the Farmer's Walk into the log lift. Now, a couple of years ago when Rogue did the first event a bit like this, they did the yoke into the log lift. I wasn't sure what to expect or what I thought about it until I actually watched it, and I really enjoyed it. The element of two very different events put together makes athletes have to think a little bit. You've got to decide what equipment you're going to use, footwear. Are you going to try and just get through the first implement as quick as possible? Can you get the weight on the second implement? You could be the best in the world at yoke but really poor at log lifting, so your ability to combine both of these events together, super important. And
I must say, personal preference only, I preferred it as the yoke. I liked it yoke into log. And another difference this year, the log was heavier. So it's 172 kilos. I think in previous years it was 163.
It was about 25 pounds heavier this year, about 10 kilos heavier. And I agree with you. I think the yoke as the first part is more challenging because it takes more out of the legs. And then you get to the log and sometimes your legs are a bit all over the place. And leg power is very important, especially for that stabilization when it comes to the log. We've seen some really impressive performances in the past in Kiliashkovsky and Mitch Hooper. And I think a lot of people expected Mitch to go into this one to take the win.
I mean, it was the one event that Mitch kind of expected to take the win, which explains his upset when he...
you cannot take anything away from Thomas Evans on this one. He executed so well. And Thomas is kind of... Tom Evans, he's...
Thomas?
you look at his results. When it comes to log, he's had some fantastic results. World's Strongest Man heats. He won the log there. He's very, very good log presser. Moved well on the farmers and no mistakes whatsoever.
Mitchell Hooper, on the other hand, obviously very fast on the farmers, really messed up that clean. And I don't know how much time it cost him overall, whether it was just that split second or
it didn't
affected
cost him
his
too
whole
much in the end.
Yeah.
You know, if he executed that clean a bit better, he maybe would have got first place. But it didn't really affect too much in the grand scheme of things.
No.
What was impressive, I mean, I was watching in the commentary booth thinking, put it down.
Yeah.
Because you're in such a position where, I mean, it's incredible that he managed to kind of save it. But sometimes you look at that and you just, from a sensible point of view, you're like, put it down. But in the moment, you're panicking and you're like, there's no way I'm putting this down.
Yeah.
And he did well to then, get the lifts after that.
Yeah. So there were 3 more men that finished the whole series, I guess. Tom Stoltman was the next fastest. Then we had Evan Singleton in there, and finally Luke Stoltman. So I feel, even though the log was heavier, having the farmers, more guys finished the 3 reps on the log.
I think just the distance of the farmers wasn't too far. The weight wasn't too heavy. Yeah. I think last time we had a much more challenging yoke as the first part, just took more out of them. But the athletes came in great shape. I mean, Luke Stoltman looked fantastic. Evan Singleton's consistency across the board. He's a little bit calmer than we've seen. Still being Evan, still kind of playing up to the crowd afterwards. But he looked really, really solid. There was no big weakness. There was no big mistakes from Evan this time. And he put in a fantastic performance, in my opinion.
So the last event of day 1 was the Inver stones, and this was also the introduction of the red button, which has caused quite a bit of controversy online. Some people, not many, liking it. More Strongman fans disliking it. I must say, being out back with the guys the whole time, I didn't hear a single athlete complain about the button. And actually, even though there were a couple of times it was forgotten, one instance where Mitch hit it too early, it didn't actually affect anyone's placings on any of the events.
Not really at all. I kind of liked it, I've got to admit.
Ninja Warrior stuff.
Yeah, kind of like Ninja Warrior.
I would like some fireworks to come out.
Also, one thing I like about it is it puts the responsibility onto the athlete. So, we're not worrying about referees, hand timing and stuff like that. You get straight away, you hit that button, the clock stops, then that's your time.
I think for the power stairs, it was actually quite an important element, because how do you have 5 referees, especially with the way it was laid out for the central guys? The referees would have to be stood on top to get an accurate stop time for that last power stair, wouldn't they? So there, I think it worked really well.
I think it's great, and it's just a matter of athletes being good at adapting. And I think sometimes as fans, we have to think, okay, we've got to be able to adapt, because we'll sit here and complain about certain things. Rogue have tried to give us a fix to a certain problem.
Yeah.
And this isn't everyone, but some people then complain about it. I've seen some athletes complaining about it. In my opinion, if you're an athlete complaining about this...
What, an athlete who was competing?
No.
Right.
Athletes watching.
Okay.
I've seen people's comments. You're kind of lazy, in my opinion. You've got to be able to adapt as an athlete. And the simplicity of pressing a button, it's not that hard at the end of okay, first time you might forget. And we did see a couple of people, like, they celebrate and then they remember that they've got
obviously on the stones.
But that becomes second nature after a few more competitions, and it'll just become, if you make it a habit in your training of, I'm going to do something to perfect competition standards, that you've got to press that button, it becomes second nature, and a good athlete will always cope with those situations very, very well. Anyway, let's talk about the stones and less about the buttons.
I know, silly button. So it was Thor Bjornsson who took the win on the Inver stones. This was his first time doing this type of series, because we've had these stones before, but it was over the hitching post in 2021 and 2022 Rogue Invitational. So quite a few athletes here have had that experience. But for Thor, first time. But it's just Thor, isn't it? One motion, blah, blah, blah.
He looked like he just got... Well, Thor had the advantage going towards the end.
Yes, he did,
So he was in a good position. Tom Stoltman looked really good, but he looked like he was conserving a bit of energy. I think Tom could have definitely been faster if he did it again.
100%. It looked like a very mindful and demure run from Tom. He was quite cautious with it.
He was.
He could definitely go faster.
No question about it. I think Mitch Hooper did the absolute best he could on this. He executed to perfection. He doesn't have the raw stone power of Thor, who can one motion. He was efficient with the lap, loaded well.
Efficient with his button.
Good time for Mitch to take second place. Pavlo Cordiaco, also one of the only other athlete to finish, other than Hafthor, who just destroyed this event. He almost got more and more confident with each and every stone.
Yeah, he was faster on the last stones. I spoke to him about it, and he was like, oh, well, it felt fine. So I was just picking up speed as I went through. Like, he realised he wasn't going to have to lap any of them.
Yeah. Do you think he's been a bit upset about not being kind of called the Stone King for a while.
But the thing is, and I've seen this argument since the weekend's competition, King of the Stones was a very specific set of stones. It was the group stage stones at World's Strongest Man. Because we had athletes not doing it, they wanted to give an incentive for athletes to do it, and there was a bit of prize money involved as well. So it's not a real thing. Everyone needs to relax and just, appreciate that there's different stones, different results.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Martins Lissis win this type of stone event before. Martin's a very good stone lifter, but Thor really did look strong. You've got to give him credit where credit's due. The carrying press, actually, we probably should have mentioned, really went badly for Thor.
Oh, yes, we should have mentioned
that. That was disaster. You kind of thought, he's not going to win this competition after that, because we've all talked about the pressing needs to come up if he wants to really challenge, and I think he was 9th or 10th on the...
He got 2 points, so he was 9th, And again, speaking to him, I think he shared this already. I don't think it's too personal to share. He was using the lavatory when suddenly they were like, Thor, they're calling you. So he ran, and it's a bit of a journey. He ran through, and he said by the time he got there, he had no time to prepare. His heart was racing already, that sort of panic, not really a cardio issue, but panic. And then by the time he got to the log, he was just like, oh God, I just think he was all out of sorts on this event.
Yeah, definitely. But composed himself, came back really strong on the inver stones.
He did.
So starting day 2, we started off with the power drive. Now, this was an interesting one. It was a medley, essentially, and I love that RAW give them these interesting names, but I will admit, sometimes I forget when I'm up in the commentary, and I'm trying to, in my head, it feels like I've forgotten to speak for ages, and I try to remember what the name is.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds, but it feels like forever.
Power drive, so they had this power drive implement, and they had to push. Then they did the Husafel sandbag carry into an arm of Ram. So 3 events that we see regularly at strongman competitions, all put together, and this one was brutal.
It really was. I mean, I saw comments about, it's just about fitness and agility. How no, you had to be seriously strong to finish this medley.
Only 4 guys finished.
Yeah, there you go. It was very heavy, and it was very, very taxing, and they had to remember the button, although the button was right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, just to the side. But this one was tough. I mean, Pavlo Kordiaka, the first athlete to finish in 86 seconds, and Pavlo is one of the fittest guys out there. Yeah. Mitch Hooper coming 3rd on this event, 81.21 seconds. Hafthor Bjornsson in 69.04, unbelievable. And Tom Stoltman taking his first win of the competition. Incredible time here by Tom, 64.81 seconds. It was just so good to watch.
Yeah. And Tom is just so perfectly built for these type of events. He needed a good result here, and he got it. And a mistake by Mitch as well. So it was... You couldn't quite see, because there was like a ridge thing, wasn't there? There's the white line, and then there's a bit of a lip. He got it to the white line, hit the button. They're like, no. He had to get it sort of up that lip. Yeah. So a rare mistake for Mitch Hooper, proving he is maybe not complete alien.
No, he's definitely human, but he's just so consistent. But we're seeing in this competition the talent that we have in terms of across the board. There was a lot of different winners, and this event, Tom Stoltman taking the win. So event number 5 was the yoke into the power stairs, the yoke escalator, they called this one. And this was, in my opinion, the lightest event of the competition. It was the fastest event, both on the men's and women's side, in terms of, I think most athletes finished these ones. But it was fun to watch, especially with the 5 athletes going head to head.
I've seen criticism of that.
Really?
Yeah, this isn't CrossFit. Do you know what? That I used to love the old World's Strongest Man, where they would always have 5 and 5 for the first event.
I used to love it. I've actually seen 10 at a time at World's.
Yes, I have as well, in the 90s.
It's cool because there is, again, a different element of competition added to that, because when it's you on your own, you just focus on what you're doing. When you have people in your peripheral, it can be distracting. Now, I know maybe a strength purist probably doesn't like that. As a competitor, I do, because you can impact what your opponent does. You can kind of see head to head, like, oh crap, this guy's ahead of me, I'm going to have to increase my speed. Now, by doing that, you might put in a blistering performance and catch them up, but you could make a mistake as well. We saw, on the women's side, we'll talk about in a minute, but I remember Angelica Jardine started badly, but she came through rapidly
fast. Flying through with the yoke,
on the yoke. And then the transition into the power stairs. I kind of liked it. I really did. And I think I'd like to see more things like that. And I think if we wanted to see Strongman live more often, that's probably the way we have to go about it.
Yeah.
To compress the amount of time needed to do an event. Because you got through this event really fast. And if Rogue have that ability to put more and more events where it can be head-to-head like that, you could do a show in a couple of hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Brutal for the athletes, but...
Yeah, well, we see it at Giants Live, though. Imagine you could squeeze a couple more events into a Giants Live if they had 5 and 5 on some of the... I know, maybe not, but I mean, as a fan, I would like to see it.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I really did enjoy this.
Yeah, I did too.
I would personally, this is me personally, I'd like to see it a little bit heavier, maybe a 1,000-pound yoke for the men rather than 900. You think we've got the 105s doing 900 at OSG.
Yeah.
I think the best guys in the world, 1,000 pounds is about right for a combination event. Yeah. But yeah, really good event again. Looked cool. The head-to-head lanes I thought was excellent. And Mitch Hooper doing what he does at moving events, taking the win on this one blisteringly fast off with the yoke, and he just kind of managed to maintain that speed. We did have some really good performances. Evan Singleton
yeah, really good.
Second on this one. Evan is fantastic when it comes to yoke, and a very good athlete when it comes to power stairs as well.
And another incredible result here for Thomas Evans. Didn't need his biceps so much in this one, and yeah, he was raring to go. Beating Thor Bjornsson in 4th place. Thor lost a lot of time on the yoke. If it had just been the power stairs, you would put Thor much higher, wouldn't you? But
you would.
He did lose time on the yoke, and then Tom Stoltman not far behind him as well.
Pavlo Kordiak was the only athlete that didn't finish this event. He kind of struggled a bit more than maybe I thought he would maybe picked up an injury. I'm not sure.
I guess maybe power stairs don't play to his natural strengths.
Yeah. But other than that, everyone finished. So the final event was the overhead medley, the circus medley, I believe it was called.
It was the circus medley.
Kettlebell into circus dumbbell into 2 circus barbells, slight axles. The handles, the bar was slightly thinner than a normal axle. So
a bit more flex to it?
Not really any more flex, and knurled nicely, just a little bit smaller, which makes it a bit easier to get your hands around. Now, our first 2 athletes went out with the kettlebell, 95 kilo kettlebell.
Yeah.
Looked very
awkward,
tricky.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes were genuinely very worried about this. There was a lot of talk the day before because we've never seen a kettlebell of this weight put into a strongman competition before, or any type of contest. No. I mean, CrossFitters use kettlebells all the time.
Much smaller,
but much less weight. And what we're finding, a lot of the athletes were worried about the way the kettlebell would pull their wrist. So they could press it, no problem, but it was pulling the wrist and holding it locked out was an issue. And the first 2 athletes that went out couldn't press it. We're all kind of sat there going, oh dear.
Starting to get a bit nervous.
However, Luke Stoltman came out and absolutely smoked it. Not only did he smoke the kettlebell, he smoked every single implement.
Yeah, he did.
And he took his first win of the competition. So Luke Stoltman finishing strong, getting back to what we know him for, that pressing power. His pressing has kind of suffered a little bit the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, especially on the log. If you look at his sort of peak results around 2021 time, his results have been down on that.
Absolutely, but this was a brilliant finish for the Highland Oak, and actually dragged him into 5th place overall. So a really, really good performance. Luke's had a very good year.
He has. He's had a lot of criticism, but he was 3rd at Britain's Strongest Man. He won Europe's Strongest Man.
Made the final at Worlds.
He's
then had a few 5th place finishes in Giants.
Yeah, like with having the bicep issue as well, and then 5th place here. Yeah. Like, it's not bad, is it?
He's definitely a top 10 guy, I'd say right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, Luke Stoltman took the win on this one. Mitch Hooper was the only other person that finished the overhead medley. Tom Stoltman taking 3rd place. I don't know if Tom was tired at this point, because I actually expected Tom to finish this one.
I thought Tom might win this event, actually.
Yeah, especially after last year's overhead and the progress his overhead has made. Yeah. But still a solid performance, taking 3rd place. Evan Singleton, again, showing that consistency. Evan didn't have an event outside the top 5.
No, but he just didn't have a winning event either, did he?
Evan and Mitch were the most consistent athletes. Yeah. Just Mitch's lowest placing was 3rd. Yeah. Evan had a 5th. But he was in great shape and showing us he is a real contender.
This was a much, much, much better overhead result for Thor Bjornsson as well.
Yes, indeed. This is where Thor showed that the progress is being made overhead. Not to where he wants it to be, but definite progress from the Arnolds earlier in the year and as the contests have gone on. So Now he's got a little bit of a break, probably till the Arnolds, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's his next competition.
And, it's hard to get things back to your very best. But if he can keep picking up points and closing the gap on the pressing events with his tremendous ability on other events, it's going to be interesting next year. So as you can see there, final scores for the men. Mitch Hooper taking the win, 54 points. In the end, he won by a full event.
Yeah, it's weird because we were talking about this. Obviously, I was at back with him the entire time. You read the comments online, he's got this locked in by like event 3. It doesn't feel that way out back until it's actually all done. Anything can happen. Injuries, you make mistakes. Like it never feels that
I know
secure.
from talking to Mitch, just the kind of, he was concerned about the kettlebell.
Yeah, he was really worried, yeah.
In an event like that, if you zero...
Yeah, he would have ended up being tied on points with Thor and Tom. 44 points. The 3 of them would have had to do the Husafel sandbag for max distance.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been stressful.
Well, they're all good at that as well, so that would have been a hell of a finish. But in the end, Mitch Hooper took the win, 54 points. Then we had a tie in second place, 44 points each for Hafthor Bjornsson and Tom Stoltman. Really good to see Tom getting on a podium. Tom has had so much criticism, and if you look back at his year, I'd be like, damn, I'd love that year.
I know, right?
3rd place at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He won World's Strongest Man. He has won Britain's Strongest Man, and here he's come 2nd at the Rogue Invitational. Last year he was 2nd at Rogue Invitational. He ain't a bad strongman for people kind of criticising him, but criticising him.
He's only good in one competition.
But yes, good to see Tom on the podium. Hafthor as well, and Evan Singleton in 4th place. That consistency really paid off this weekend. I spoke to him afterwards. We spoke to him. He was disappointed. He really wanted to try and get on the podium.
Yeah, he was.
He's got the potential. He's just got to keep working hard. Yeah. And I think he did a good job of controlling that aggression this weekend.
It's something he's really working on, especially for these longer format competitions.
And then we had Luke Stockman in 5th, Thomas Evans. I think Thomas Evans, if he didn't do that bicep, could have really challenged, maybe even for a podium.
Yeah, absolutely, because it stopped him dead on the inver stones and also on the power drive as well with the Husafel sandbag. But other than that, he had some really good performances.
He did. Matt Ragg in 7th place, Bobby Thompson in 8th, Pavlo Kordiaka in 9th, and Tristan Hoth in 10th. Amazing contest, the men's was.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. But let's move on to the women's. We've said at the start, this is such an amazing opportunity for these ladies. And it started off with the max deadlift. And as expected, Lucy Underdown is the deadlift world record holder. She took the win on this. Andrea Thompson pulling 302 kilos. The second time we've seen a woman pull over 300 kilos in competition, raw, without a deadlift suit.
And also a new Masters world record for the women as well.
Yeah, and this was an amazing moment for Andrea.
Yeah.
She really, it meant a lot. Perfect start to the competition.
Did she go for 300 at around in 2020 or 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been like on her agenda this whole time, hasn't it? On her radar, so big moment.
Absolutely. And then Olga Lashuk, she placed 3rd on this event, great deadlifter herself. But Ines Karaskiel, she hit a PB, taking 4th place. Yeah. And straight away you're looking at her thinking, okay, this woman is in shape this competition.
Yeah, but this is usually an event where she might drop a few more points than that. So this was a really solid start for Ines.
So event 2, and Ines continued that, confidence after her PB on the deadlift, taking 1st place in what is a great event for her. Farmer's Walk into log lift. She's the world record holder when it comes to the log. She executed once again perfectly. And this was the real story of the women's side. We've seen Ines before many times. Amazing strong woman. Continue to make silly mistakes in competitions.
Yeah, very clumsy.
This competition, she came in well prepared. Nothing was too much.
She didn't put a foot wrong the whole weekend. Like you said, she executed perfectly. I think this type of event really suits her with snappy style of log lifting as well.
It absolutely does. I mean, only 2 athletes managed to finish this. This was a tough event for the women.
The women struggled with this one, and the log obviously in particular.
Yeah, a lot of them couldn't even get a rep on the log.
No.
The only athletes to finish were Ines and Andrea Thompson, who placed 2nd. Angelica Jardine, who is just a revelation in the strongwoman.
She's great.
So cool.
Yeah.
She placed 3rd. And again, Olga, showing that consistency that she has, she took 4th place.
Yeah. A bit of a squeaky bum moment with Angelica, watching her catch. Like, how strong do you have to be to sort of catch it and hold it? I thought she was going to Viking walk.
I was just like, just drop it.
I thought, oh my God, let it go.
She's so sweet. She doesn't want to damage the equipment.
No, I know. He's probably scared. Make sure it goes back on the pads.
And then we moved on to the inver stones, and again Inez taking another win here, which was a surprise because I think a lot of people expected Angelica to take the win after her performance on the stones at the Arnold's earlier this year.
Talking to Inez before, you probably haven't even watched the videos, but she said on camera, stones is about damage limitation for me.
Really?
Yes, that's what she said. She said the stones are iffy. And I think maybe a lack of experience with this set of stones.
This is how iffy they were.
Iffy.
4 athletes managed all 5.
Yeah.
Second place was Angelica Jardine, who did them in 51 seconds. Inez took the win, 5 stones in 34.24 seconds.
She absolutely smashed it. Yeah,
Very
it wasn't
iffy.
even close. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, iffy for the... She's funny.
She is.
But I think that shows maybe that little bit of lack of self-belief, which is where the mistakes and stuff have come from in the past. But like when she puts it on, it's insane. She's so good.
It was so good. So we moved on to the power drive, and again, you know, a really good performance from Inez. She took 3rd on this one. Olga, consistency again. That's all you can say about Olga. She's just a consistent, dangerous athlete. Why she's won so many titles. Yeah. She was in 2nd, but Lucy Underdown taking a 2nd win of the competition. At this point, you had 2 winners of the first 4 events. So Inez had taken 2 wins. Lucy had taken 2 wins. Moved on to the yoke escalator, and this time we had a completely different winner of the contest. 2 athletes that had been struggling a little bit in terms of overall performance on the early events, but both battling hard all the way to the end. Sam Bellevue took the win on this one, which was so good to watch because she was struggling in the overall contest.
Well, Sam, she hurt her shoulder on the farmers actually right before the log press. If you look closely at her, you can see she's in a lot of pain. She took a really long time to approach that log, so she was in a lot of pain. But yeah, she pulled out the win here. I love Sam because she's got no quit in her at all.
That's my favourite, you know, a trait that she has.
Yeah.
She's not the biggest, she's not the strongest,
but
she's determined and she keeps trying, and she's always doing it with a smile on her face.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that about her. But yeah, Sam took the win on this one, not far behind Mel Peacock, and then Inez taking 3rd place, Olga in 4th. So they're still showing that consistency, but the Canadian athletes really excelling here. So the women finishing with the circus medley as well. Kettlebell into dumbbell into 2 axle clean and presses. This time we had 3 athletes manage to finish all 4 implements. This was the perfect event for Inez to finish on.
Yeah,
I think she must have felt confident going into this. She's incredible overhead. She had a good lead at this point. It would be like Tom Stontman going in to the Atlas Stones as the finisher, or Mitch Hooper going in with the yoke as the finisher. She performed exceptionally well again, took another event win. Angelica Jardine looking super strong on this one, and Olga managing to finish as well. She took 3rd place on this event.
I'm wondering, is the kettlebell much more difficult for the shorter athletes with shorter arms? Because we really saw Melissa Peacock, who again, she's an incredible like dumbbell presser, for example. It seemed each time she was sort of punching it overhead, it was sort of hitting her and closing her arm. Andrea too, who we know how strong she is overhead, maybe better on a log than something like this.
Yeah, it's funny with overhead events because like Andrea really is good at log. Sam and Mel, very good when it comes to dumbbell. But you have to be able to adapt to different types of overhead.
Of course,
I do think wrist size and hand size can make a difference on something like a kettlebell, where you've got a bit more control over the or you need more control over the implement. But I think some of those smaller athletes probably did suffer.
Struggling.
Smaller hands, smaller wrists makes it just so much harder. So yeah, Inez Carrasquillo taking the win in the end with 53 points. Olga Lashuk on 47 points, and Lucy Underdown getting herself onto the podium just ahead of Angelica Jardine with 41 points. The exciting thing with the women is we have had a different winner of every major competition for the last couple of years now.
Yeah, we had. Like Rebecca Roberts is the world's strongest woman. AJ was the winner of the Arnold. Lucy was the winner of the Arnold UK, and now Inez winner of the Rogue Invitational. Inez's first big international win as well.
So the women's side is very competitive. We said at the start, you know, one of 5 or 6 women could win this. She came in supreme shape and 100% deserves the title. And finally this weekend we had the finals of the Strongman Champions League. Strongman Champions League, great like yearly contest. It goes on almost every month. There's a competition somewhere around the world. This was their World Tour finals taking place in Turkey, and it's interesting how they do this. So they kind of build up points throughout the year, and then the top 12 athletes get to compete in the finals. And the first event is basically based on where they've placed overall. So Evans Nana came in as the overall leader, so he gets 12 points coming into the competition.
Yeah.
And then whoever's in second place gets 11 points, 10 points, right down to whoever's in 12 gets 1 point. Then they do a competition.
Yeah.
So you've got like a 12-point lead. So we had Raino Nell from South Africa coming in with only 3 points.
Yeah.
Now, this is a guy to watch. We've mentioned him before on the channel. He really dominated this competition.
He did.
So Reno came into this as if he'd placed 10th on the first event, 3 points in the first event, and after that he absolutely dominated. I want to run through some of the athletes. We're not going to go too deep into this because it's been a long video already, but yeah, so you had Reno Nell, you had guys like Evans Nana, you had Ivor Schmauxlis, Kane Francis, Adam Ruszkowski, Irvin Toots, a number of other athletes as well. And he's just dominated. Let me go through the events. So block press, he took second place. Stone carry, he took top place. The Steintossen, we see the return of the Steintossen, which is a stone throw. He took first place. Truck pull was the weakest event for him all weekend. He got 8 points on that. So what's
Fourth
that?
Place.
Fourth or fifth place. Deadlift, he took second place. And then the natural stones, he took first place. He also won the SCL. The last contest that he did was the SCL South Africa. He won every event in that competition. So this guy is new. He's exciting. It's great to see a really, powerful South African athlete, because we haven't seen.
Well, we have Yako.
No, that's true. But this is another one that could potentially do very well in some major competitions. He's not had too many opportunities yet, but he's dominating these competitions when he gets them.
He's doing OSG in a few weeks' time as well.
He is indeed, and I think that's exactly what he needs to do, because sometimes you can rest on your laurels thinking, okay, I've done well in this, it might earn me a spot to something. Do not rely on that, Rainer. If you're watching this, get yourself to OSG. Then you will be in front of the people that organise Giants Live. The last few years, the top 3 at OSG have gone to World's Strongest Man. So that would be my advice to him. Don't rest on your laurels in terms of this result. It's an amazing result. You're doing fantastic, but get yourself over to OSG. I've seen that your name is down. I'm excited to see how you do there. But Reno taking the win in the SCL finals. Evans Nana, very proud of this man taking second place. And in the end, he's had such a busy year.
I know.
He needs some time off now. I'm kind of desperate for him to have some off season. He's still got one more competition to go.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, very proud of the year we've had working together. Ivor Schmauxlis, he is so consistent, third place. Kane Francis taking fourth, and Adam Ruszkowski taking fifth place in the Champions League overall finals. Hope you guys enjoyed the wrap-up of those competitions. Let us know your thoughts as always. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.